Hello, John, and welcome back. Today in this tutorial, we are going to be talking about your very first own CSS, which again, from the previous tutorial, I've described what CSS does and stuff. But don't worry, I'm going to show you in this tutorial how you can add CSS to HTML file, and then we are going to look at some basic of CSS styling, where we are going to be learning how to style your first HTML code. Let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do here is to open a folder. I'm going to open a folder and give it a name of maybe probably style one, and then I'm going to I'm going to open this up inside a code editor, which I will always use Visual Studio Code. I also advise you to use Visual Studio Code because Visual Studio Code is one of the best code editor out there, and it's very beginners friendly. So now the first thing we're going to do here is to, as you know, open our HTML file. Yeah, you need to open you need to create an HTML file. Don't think we are not going to be doing any HTML again, because what are we styling if there's no HTML? We are definitely going to be styling our HTML, so there should be HTML there. So, and then we do what we normally do instead of HTML file, bring out the document structure, and we can just have our H1 here that says hello CSS, and maybe also have a paragraph tag under here that says I am learning CSS. Yeah, that's great. So let's talk about how you add your CSS to your HTML file, as I mentioned. So there are basically three ways to add your CSS to HTML file. The first one is what we call inline, which is what we call inline styling. And then the second one is the internal styling. And the third one is external styling. You don't need to just worry about those names, but you can just jot them down in case anybody asks you later, because you may be let me say having some conversation with your friend later. So let me quickly show you what inline styling does. And then so now let's say we want to add quickly. Before I do that, let me open up this inside my code editor, so it won't be like I'm cheating. So I copy part, and then I go to here and paste, and you can see this my heading one, and I am this my paragraph tag, nothing changed. So the next thing I'm going to be doing here is I want to change the color of this hello CSS. I want to change the color to be like red. So I can do some inline styling. I can just say style, and then you see I just add a style as what, as an attribute, isn't it? So anything that you see inside an opening tag is called an attribute, and then I can just say color. So that the color is the property, and then what is the value? The value should be red because I want my hello CSS to be in red color. So I save, Control S, and then I go to my browser and refresh. And you're going to be seeing that this hello CSS actually appear to be actually appear as in red color the way I said. And you can just change around. You can change the color to any color you want. It's not necessary to give it red. You can give it green or any color of your choice, as much as you understand it. So, and what other things should we look at now? And the next thing I'm going to do is maybe probably add a background color to the paragraph tag, and you're going to see the difference between color and background color now. Color is adding color to the text, while background color is adding a background to that particular text. Now, let's say I write my style here, and then I definitely want to do background color property. And then what value do I want to give it? I can give it any value. So let me give it a value of blue. So now I can save up this by doing Ctrl S and go to my browser to refresh. And you can see this certain paragraph tag has a background color of blue, and it's almost full the browser. So I believe with this you understand the concept behind uh, and then concept behind just separating color, just a color, and then a background color. If you don't much understand it, don't worry, you are going to understand it, and more understand it better when you start building real world projects with all these things you just learn. So this is perfect. This is what we call inline styling. Why do we call it inline styling? To be specific, you see now it is on the same line together with the headings we are styling. We are styling this heading, we are giving it a color of green, and we write the CSS just as an attribute and on the same line together with it. So that's why we call it inline, on the same line. And then this paragraph also, we're adding a background color to it, and we added the style as an attribute and having the style, the whole styling together with it on the same line. And this there are pros and cons to this, and there are some of the disadvantages, as I mentioned, and there's pros and cons. The disadvantage of doing inline styling is also there, which is maybe let me brief you about it now, and you are going to see it in action later. It's very, very hard to change. Let's say someone, let's say you are coding and that person of your that certain your friend is using inline styling, and maybe you are using what you call external styling or internal styling, and you try to change the color or the let me say the property of one particular text. Maybe it's given a color of red and you want to change it to the blue, and you keep on changing as not changing from your side, and you start thinking like, what the hell? And you like you just get up and start getting angry. No, you don't need to. Maybe that person is using inline styling, so it is hard for you to change until you add some particular syntax, which I'm going to be showing you later. Well, let's get started. Let's go to what we call the internal. Now, this is inline, isn't it? Let's speak about the internal styling. So the internal styling is mostly added at the head section, head tag. Inside the head tag, you can see this is the beginning of the head tag and this is the closing of the head tag. So we add a tag also. There's a tag of style. We add it to the under the title. Now you see we're adding it immediately under the title, but inside the head tag. Notice this, not inside the body. We're having it inside the head tag. So now this heading one, I want to change the color. I want to give it a color of red back, so I can just say H1. Now you see I'm adding the selector as I mentioned, and then after the selector, I'm opening a curly braces, and then the curly braces, and then what are the properties and name? I want to change the color, and then I want to give it a color of red. As I mentioned from my previous video, we have a code block, we have a selector which is H1 now, and then a code block which contains the property and a value. So now let's check our browser, even though I know it won't change. So let's check our browser and see what happens. So the color still remain green. Sure, who among you can tell me what happens? Why is it not changing? Yes, from my previous talks, I talk about the inline styling being one of the strong head, and changing is really, really hard. So because we already declare a color to be green here, changing it here won't work unless I do some important thing. And this that important thing is just by adding the important let me say important notation. This by just doing this, we make it change by force. So let's check it out if it changed. You see it changed, but we don't always need to put that important syntax there out there every time. So the best way is to just remove this because we don't actually need it again since we're already doing it inside the internal CSS. Uh, let me say internal CSS code blocks. Well, if you want to change the background color also of it, you can just remove the inline one we have here, and then I can just go under here. Now I can just go under here. You see now I come out of this code block entirely. I now type in the P because we are going to the styling P, the paragraph. Now I open another curly braces for it, and then I set background color. I set it to let me see purple now, and I see. So one thing you need to notice is here, this entire one, the H1 we are styling have its own code block, the selector, the code block, and outside it, totally outside it, below it now, I have paragraph tag, selector, and then I have its own also code block. That's how to do it. And you will see something like after the color property, and then you have a colon and then semicolon. So that's the syntax of CSS, and if you don't add this to close it up, you may have some red underlines. That means you're having an error. Let's check it out inside your browser. If it's working. Yeah, it's working, but I did a mistake. Did I add a color? You see the color of the text is one. Let me make it bigger. You see, it is only the color that's changing to purple. So what happens? You see, instead of, I think I added purples, which is supposed to be not purples, it's supposed to be purple, just purple, not without the S, and let's see what happens. Now you see now I'm having it, it's looking great. Well, if you really enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. I will see you in the next one.